Hello class, and welcome to our discussion about crimes against people. Okay, so we're going to be taking a look at a number of different crimes that involve offenses against other people. Okay, the first crime that we're going to look at is murder. Now this is the big one. This is the crime that gets all the attention. It's always in the news. In fact though, murder is it occurs the least of all the crimes that we're going to look at today. Okay, but murder is the unlawful intentional killing of another person, okay? When somebody commits murder, they intended to kill the person. They wanted to. Okay, it's going to be different from manslaughter that we're going to look at here in a little bit. Okay, now when we're talking about murder, you'll often hear people say, well, that was murder in the first degree. What does the first degree actually mean? In order to be murder in the first degree, you need to have at least one or more of the 3 bullet points at the bottom of the slide. Okay, somebody killed somebody after making a very detailed plan about how they were going to kill that person. Okay, that would be a check mark towards first degree murder. Okay, killing in an especially vicious way. Okay, maybe somebody tortured somebody to death. That would be seen as very vicious or very, very bad, very nasty way to kill somebody. Okay, that would be a check mark for the first degree. The third way that somebody could be convicted of first degree murder would be killing during another serious crime. So maybe somebody was committing robbery of a store and they end up killing the clerk behind the counter. Well, not only did they murder somebody, but they were also committing robbery that led to the murder. Okay, so you have to have at least one of those 3 items in order to have first degree murder. First degree could equal the death penalty. Okay, generally people are not put up for the death penalty unless there is first degree murder. Now that does not mean that if somebody is convicted of first degree murder that they're automatically going to receive the death penalty. It's one of those crimes where somebody could receive the death penalty. Okay, now let's compare murder against manslaughter. Manslaughter is the unlawful, unintentional killing of another person. So somebody didn't try to kill somebody like they did in murder. Okay, it's unintentional. Okay, so we can have voluntary and involuntary manslaughter. Okay, voluntary manslaughter means that somebody kills another under great distress with no prior plan. Okay, now here's the difference between murder and manslaughter. Voluntary manslaughter, there was some intent there, right? They tried to kill that person, but they were under great distress, okay? And they didn't have a prior plan to kill the person, okay? Maybe they were being held at gunpoint and they did something to save themselves, okay? And they still killed the person, but we wouldn't call that murder. That would be voluntary manslaughter. Now, involuntary manslaughter is completely unintentional, okay? So say maybe you kill another accidentally while committing an unlawful or reckless act, okay? So maybe it's a deadly accident caused by speeding or DUI. That would be considered involuntary manslaughter. Okay, so manslaughter, the main takeaway from this is we need to know what manslaughter is, and that is the unlawful, unintentional killing of another person. I have an example here. James Holmes killed 12 people in a crowded theater in Aurora, Colorado. He planned the attack weeks in advance. This would be murder, okay? This checks the box on every single level. Okay, it was unlawful, obviously. It was intentional. He knew that he was planning to do this, okay? And it was premeditated, planned. He took time in advance to figure out how he was going to about killing others. This would 100% be considered murder. So on this slide, we have Deb Smith killing her husband, wife, and their child in a car accident while driving under the influence of alcohol. Do you think this is murder, manslaughter, or neither? Okay. This would probably fall under manslaughter because it was unlawful, obviously, due to the DUI, but it was unintentional. She did not intend to kill the people that she ended up killing by driving under the influence. Okay. Now, she could potentially be charged with murder in this case. Okay. It really depends. Maybe she had prior DUI convictions. Okay, it's going to depend, but generally we probably would say that this would fall under manslaughter. Okay, now here we have U.S. soldier Liv Sanchez. He kills a number of Taliban while conducting combat operations in Afghanistan. Okay, this is not going to be neither. It's neither manslaughter or murder because it is lawful killing. Okay, the government has given Liv Sanchez the authorization to do this as part of his combat operation. It was intentional and he did kill enemy combatants, but it would not fall under the category of murder or manslaughter. Liz Sanchez is not going to come back to the United States and face murder or manslaughter charges. Okay, now Deandra Wilson's store has been robbed a number of times in the past. He sets up a shotgun with tripwire to shoot any robbers, which kills Rob Smith during the break-in. Okay, so DeAndre has this store and he's been robbed in the past. Okay, so he decides he's going to set this trap for future robbers. Well, Rob Smith is the robber that comes in and, the trap ends up killing Rob Smith. Will DeAndre be on, will he have to go to court to face murder or manslaughter charges? And the answer would probably be murder because, number one, it's unlawful. DeAndre does not have the right to kill anybody. Okay, it was intentional. He intentionally set up the trap with the intent to shoot people that were trying to break into his house, or into his store, sorry. And, a person did end up dying. It was not self-defense. Okay, DeAndre was not in immediate danger when the trap killed Rob Smith. So this, in all likelihood, would go before the courts as a murder charge. Okay, so what we've learned from one of our previous lessons was that the required state of mind must be proven in order to convict somebody of a crime. What do we think the required intent or state of mind is in order to get a conviction of murder or manslaughter? Well, murder obviously would be there was an intent to kill. They had to be in a state of mind that reflected an intentional desire to kill somebody. Manslaughter, there was no intent in that person's mind at the time of the killing. Okay, and then remember, the insanity defense seeks to eliminate the required intent or state of mind aspect from the crime. Remember, insanity is one of the defenses against a crime. Okay, so moving on from murder and manslaughter, we now have battery. And battery is the unlawful touching of another person. Okay, so if you hit somebody, or if you order a dog to attack somebody, or kissing or touching somebody who doesn't want it, then that would be considered battery. Okay, you cannot touch another person. It would be considered battery. Okay, as long as it's not wanted or not desired, then that could be considered battery. Okay, especially if that ends up injuring the person. Okay, but battery is the unlawful touching of another person. Next we have assault. Now assault is attempting or threatening to cause harm. Okay, and assault can be broken into two separate categories. We have simple assault, which is a misdemeanor, and then we have aggravated assault, which is a felony. Okay, so some examples of simple assault would be swinging a baseball bat at someone but not hitting them. Okay, it's not battery because we didn't make contact. We never touched that person, but it is assault because we attempted to cause harm. Okay, threatening to harm someone. I'm going to beat you. Okay, that is a threat to cause harm. That could be considered simple assault. Okay, now aggravated assault is typically a felony. Now this is when we use a deadly weapon, okay, in order to try to cause harm to somebody, like a gun or a knife. Okay, having the intent to commit murder, rape, or robbery. So if you're harming somebody while at the same time trying to murder them or rape them or rob them, then it would fall under the category of aggravated assault. Okay, so simple assault is not as severe as aggravated assault. Simple assault usually is going to be a misdemeanor. Aggravated assault will be a felony. Okay, and the difference is aggravated assault, we have a weapon or we're doing some other crime while we're committing the assault. Next crime is kidnapping. This is the unlawful removal or restraint of a person. Okay, now typically when people think of kidnapping, they think of an adult stealing a child. But kidnapping can be committed against an adult as well, okay? An adult can remove or can restrain somebody and commit kidnapping against another adult. Okay, unlawful removal or restraint of a person. Okay, other crimes against people are sex offenses. This is when a person forces another person to have sex with them. Okay, rape is when you force another person to have sexual intercourse. Okay, statutory rape is a specific type where there is sexual intercourse with a minor. Okay, with or without force, it doesn't matter. If there is sexual intercourse with a minor, somebody under 18, we get rid of the idea of with or without force. Okay, rape is often referred to within the broader sexual assault classification. So typically, sometimes if you watch the news, they'll say somebody was sexually assaulted. Remember, assault is when you threaten violence or harm, you threaten violence or you use actual violence upon somebody. Here it's sexual assault because we harm them in a sexual manner. All right, so from our previous lessons, we've learned the differences between felonies, misdemeanors, and infractions. Felonies are those worst level of crimes. And crimes that would fall under the felony category would be murder, rape, and robbery. Okay, they generally are going to have at least 1 year in jail. You're probably going to be sent to a state prison. Okay, there will be the loss of constitutional rights. Okay, so maybe you may be prohibited from voting. Maybe you may never be able to own a firearm again. Okay, it's going to probably limit that person's future employment as well. Misdemeanors, these are mid-level crimes, so like shoplifting, driving under the influence. Okay, they're not quite as severe as felonies. Generally, there's going to be less than a year in jail, but still it could limit that person's future employment. Now, infractions, these are low-level crimes. It's very likely that at some point in your life you will face an infraction. Okay, traffic violations are typically what people think of. You know, running through a stop sign or a red light or speeding. Those would fall under infractions. Generally, there's going to be a fine, and generally there will not be any jail time. And generally, an infraction does not impact future employment. Okay, it's highly unlikely that you would not get a job because you got a speeding ticket. Okay, that's not the case with felony and misdemeanors. Those may prohibit you from being considered for a job. Okay, so this concludes our discussion of crimes against people and property.